The next entry in the toolbar is shared by the Shrink, Fatten, and Push-Pull tools. In this video, we will be looking at the Shrink Fatten tool, which, for simplicity's sake, we'll refer to as just Shrink from now on. After selecting a set of elements and choosing the Shrink tool, the familiar yellowhead pin gizmo will appear. When we drag on this, the selected faces scale outward or inward, depending on the direction of the drag. At this point, you might be forgiven for thinking that this is the same operation as scaling. But if we reset the model and use the scaling tool instead, we'll see that we get a different result, with the selected faces becoming larger and overhanging the surrounding parts of the model. Also, scaling has its direction controlled by the pivot point setting. Look at the different result we get when scaling with the pivot point set to the 3D cursor. The Shrink tool, on the other hand, expands in the direction of the face normals and is independent of the pivot settings. Perhaps the closest match to the Shrink tool is extrude along normals. The only difference here is that the extrude operation creates a new set of faces, whereas Shrink makes use of the existing faces. This tool's last op panel has 4 fields. Offset set the increase or decrease in size, with negative values decreasing the size. Offset even adjusts the position of certain vertices when they are part of a sharp corner, as indicated in the manual. This effect may not always be immediately apparent, but using the Shrink tool on a section of a monkey mesh reveals some changes when we select Offset Even. Instead of selecting this option later in the last op panel, it can be activated during the Shrink operation by pressing S or the Alt key. Skipping mirror editing, which will be covered in another video, we come to proportional editing. Clicking this option activates proportional editing and adds more parameters to the last op panel. This affects nearby unselected vertices, moving them proportionally along with the selected elements. For a fuller tutorial on proportional editing, see video 23. When dragging the mouse during a Shrink operation, the top left corner of the 3D viewport displays the distance moved and the current Offset Even setting. Also, during the drag process, the status bar displays the additional keys available at this time. Control inverts the current snapping setting only while this key is being held down. By default, snapping will be set to increment, making the Shrink operation proceed in discrete steps. Shift-Tab inverts the snapping setting permanently, with the change persisting even after the Shrink operation is complete. Hold the Shift key while dragging for finer control over the Shrink operation, making mouse movements less effective. We can activate the Shrink tool using the keyboard shortcut Alt-S. As with other keyboard shortcuts, this means that no gizmo will appear, and the mouse should be dragged without any buttons pressed. Press the left mouse button to complete the operation or the right button to cancel it. The Enter and Escape keys perform the same alternatives.